Hey, let's talk about building resilient systems. And what do I even mean by that? Let's just get into it. I am sitting in front of my warm fireplace because my house is chilly today, and it's totally my fault because I left and I did not light a fire for a day. So I have spent most of the day sitting in front of this fire. But I thought I would take this time to talk to you about what's kind of gone on in our lives the last few weeks. So it started out where my kids got sick, and I mean, that happens, right? Like, kids get sick. It doesn't matter if you, it really does, it just happens. And so they got sick. I spent the whole time taking care of them and making herbal remedies and all kinds of stuff. And I'm not going to honestly get into all the details of that, but if you want to read about what herbal remedies I used while they were sick, I will leave a link to the blog down in the description box. So the kids get sick, they get better, and I think, okay, we're on our way and I can start to get back to normal life. And we barely dipped our toes back into real life, and I ended up getting sick. And I don't just mean like a little bit sick. I mean totally taken out, ended up bedridden for many days in a row, and finally, over a week later, I am just now feeling mostly better. And that was totally not our plan. So I had a lot of time to think while I was sick about things about our life and about our homestead and about, the different systems that I have set up. Now, the first day, my kids were here and they were with me, and I mean, I'm the one who keeps our home running. And when me, the main person, gets taken out, who is there to pick up the slack? So in my case, my kids are 11, 9, and 6, and they have chores. They have lots of responsibilities, and this added to their plate. They were able to pick up on my chores while I was down, and I've taught them. And not only that, but because I have implemented good systems, they were not only able to do my chores, but they were also able to go to the freezer and get homemade meals that were prepared out of the freezer to make good food. So they weren't just eating a bunch of junk food while I was not well. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking how blessed we were to be able to fall back on that system. And so that's why I wanted to say there's a new season coming. Spring has already kind of started in warmer parts of our country, and it's coming here. And I like to use this time right now to start implementing systems for the spring, because if you're on a homestead, pretty soon the weather warms up and you got to get your crops in the ground, and animals are starting to be born. And if you don't have a good system in place, then you find yourself running out to the convenience store to pick up dinner because you worked your tail off and now you don't have good food to eat because you're too tired. So I wanted to just encourage you guys to get those systems in place. So for me, what that looks like is every single meal I possibly can make, I will make twice as much, or even more than that. That way I can fill my freezer with easy food. Like for breakfast, for example, I just made a double batch of waffles, which means now our freezer is full of waffles. And then I'm going to make breakfast burritos and muffins and, pancakes, anything that I can make extra of to have it in the freezer. And that way my kids can actually pull it out of the freezer, warm it up. We all end up getting breakfast, but I can keep working in the garden like I need to be working. If you're like me, maybe you tend to like skip meals and work through meals. And I am learning that's not great. That's not a good system. You got to be able to keep up your strength. And so I don't want to be going to get, junk food or processed food from the grocery store. I would much rather our family eats the good food that I work hard to produce here. So everybody in our house has to help in some way. So they can help in the garden, they can help clean, they can help cook, and make sure everybody's things are taken care of. And that is one of my systems that I have in place. So do you implement systems on your homestead? I would love to know. What systems, especially for the springtime, do you have that you can fall back on? I heard it said recently that you fall back on your systems. I think I said that right. And being so sick, I've realized that the truth of that is we fell back on my systems and we still ended up eating good homemade food because the system was there, because I try to save food and make sure that I'm portioning it out. My kids were able to make it and cook it, and I could not believe how many days it took me to recover from this sickness. And fortunately, we had those. And when we were sick, especially when my kids were sick, I followed a different protocol for myself. I was able to fall back on the herbal remedies that were in my cupboard. They were already made, ready and waiting for when we would need them. And so I was able to use the herbs and utilize those because they were already there, because they were already made. So my question to you today is, what systems are you falling back on? Are they good, strong systems, or are they boxed cereal and boxed mac and cheese like you ate when you were a kid? You will fall back on what you were taught unless you choose to change it. And you can change those childhood systems so we no longer fall back on tuna sandwiches, popcorn, and boxed cereal in our home when we're sick. Now we fall back on bone broth, herbal remedies, and things like that, because I took one small step, one small change, and made it a lifestyle change, a habit. And so now we don't fall back as hard as we would fall before. So that's my challenge to you. What are your systems? What are you falling back on? And what small change can you make today that will impact tomorrow? This is so important moving forward, especially with planting season coming up, but not just planting season, just in the general direction of our culture and things that are changing. I think it is so much easier to fall back on a resilient system than it is to fall back on nothing. If you have nothing to hold you in those times of crisis, whether you're homesteading as a family and you're homesteading as a team or you're homesteading as a single person, you can do this. You can totally do this. The fact that my kids were able to fall back on the systems that I created for our family, it showed me right where we were at. It showed me the great things that have been done. And then it also showed me where we still need improvement. And so now that we're better again, we will restock our supplies. I already have homemade remedies going again, new ones to restock. Also, I will work to improve those areas of lack that were highlighted by this particular crisis. So I hope you find this message encouraging today. I would love to hear from you what your systems are and what things do you do on your homestead that help you in times where the workload is heavier than the amount of time in the day? What do you do to do all of that? If you would like to read the full blog that I have written up on building out resilient systems, I will leave a link down in the description for that. Don't forget to learn and grow. I'll see you in the next one.